Crime Curious is a true crime podcast that takes an in-depth look into real cases through the lens of a trained investigator and former prosecutor turned judge.
If you are sensitive to expletives, anatomical descriptions, and accurate descriptions of crime scenes, this podcast may not be suitable for you.
Welcome to Crime Curious. I'm Charnell.
And I'm Megan.
And I have our Gree. We are early morning recording.
I know.
So we have coffee. We have deeper, sleepy voices.
Yes.
I haven't
Who doesn't want to hear this in the morning? I hope
right?
you all press play at 7 a.m.
Yes. Our husbands are lucky men, I think, because they just get this succulent sound in the morning.
Succulent.
I use that word on purpose.
Okay.
I have not even been awake for an hour, full disclosure. Poor Megan. This was like waking up next to me. I told her I've brushed my hair and I've brushed my teeth, and that's all I've done.
And I showered, but I didn't do my hair because I have a hair appointment later. So I just like pulled it back like I'm an old teacher.
It's adorable. I like it.
Teacher, and I pulled it in a clip bun, and
yeah, we're doing good. So if we are a little unusual today, just know the time of day. I am not a morning person.
Me either.
This should be interesting.
It should be. Or we're just going to be really boring and technical today because it's too early for me to say the funny things.
Right.
And they might come out. They might come out.
Let's hope. So I have I have a gross human for us today.
Do you usually? I mean,
yes,
you give me some really awful humans.
I never bring you anybody nice except for, well, not even then. I was going to say except for when we bring Wes into the studio, but you know, we love him, but it still doesn't fit the category.
You said what you said.
I did. Love you, Wes. So this is the story of Conan Wayne Hale. Now, what I really want to call him is Conan.
Right, because of Conan the Barbarian, yes. But it's Conan.
I think it's Conan. It's spelled Conan. So
it could Conan.
It could be Conan.
Conan O'Brien. It's Irish.
Yeah. And he was born in 1975, so I feel like, I mean, this is right during the time of Conan the Barbarian.
His parents named him after Conan. You had a lot of Sonias born there, from Red Sonja.
Yes.
I don't know if we had a lot of Arnold Schwarzeneggers, but there were a lot of Arnolds then too.
Yeah.
But this makes sense to me that we'd have a Conan.
So can we just call him Conan?
Yes.
I just don't want. I don't want anybody coming at me like, do you know it's Conan?
What was the bad guy's name? Cull? Was it Cull the Destroyer in those same movies? If any of you are named Cull that were born in that age
now you
range,
know why.
We know that you're in therapy from your parents.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. They were in a dark place.
They were in a dark place.
Oh gosh. So this shithead was born December 28th, 1975 in Lane County, Oregon, which is where this case takes place at. I'm going to say the words backwards and wrong before. I haven't even had a full cup of coffee, people. So
do that like a shot.
Bear with me. I know at this point, give me one.
I should have brought us espresso this morning. Sitting here eating coffee beans.
Yeah. From what I can tell, guys, his childhood is not picture perfect. I mean, we are talking about a murderer, but not all of them have terrible childhoods.
No.
You know, but this one, there's not a ton of information out there. So I did kind of have to play like a little puzzle piece game. And this is what I've gathered for us. Okay. Now, when I say puzzle piece, I could be putting the horse together correctly or like upside down kissing his own ass.
It's a wonky horse.
We will, the sources were valid. The information seems to track. So it wasn't too difficult to piece together, but I'm going to just use the word allegedly. Okay. In some of this stuff.
Can you name the episode this?
Right. I do know he has a brother and a sister. Now, his father was allegedly abusive. Mm-hmm. His parents were divorced. And some people described that he came from a broken home, which I hate that term for a divorced family is not a broken family, for crying out loud. So I kind of took that with a grain of salt of possibly meaning broken home in that there was domestic violence, there was lack of supervision, all of the things, not just the divorce.
Right. But from that time frame, God forbid one should be divorced. That was a broken home.
Absolutely.
So they may have actually intended it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And also back with that time frame, if you think about it, he's born in 1975. So he's 10 years old in 1985, growing into his teen years towards the late 80s. And parental supervision just wasn't what it is now today.
No,
right?
I went out in the morning and would play outside, and as long as I showed up before dinner, no one cared. And there weren't cell phones.
Exactly. Yeah, it just wasn't as front in our conscious awareness of, all the bad things. And, this gave Conan an opportunity to fall into drugs and alcohol in his early teen years.
Okay.
And I really think that this is where things started to spiral for him. Now, whether it was the abuse at home that put him out more on the streets hanging with the wrong crowd, not sure. But, and I will get to why I'm saying not sure and allegedly on these things later, but we do know that he started very early into drugs and alcohol, and he got himself into some legal trouble. He decided that he was going to start breaking into homes, robbing homes.
That happens.
Doing
with
all
drugs.
Of those things. Sure does.
You got to pay for them.
Which then landed him in front of the court system, the juvenile court system, of course, right?
Right.
And he was ordered to complete some inpatient drug treatment. He actually got put into a juvenile detention center.
Yes, very familiar with those.
Yes. And this is in the early 90s, so 1992, 93.
Sure.
Now, I was able to see some correspondence from others who were in that program with him, okay? And they described him as someone who had frequent outbursts, okay? They never really saw him as a real threat. They just kind of saw him as a punk teenager, a very stereotypical for the type of kids that were in there, really. He did try to escape the treatment center a couple of times, which did nothing but make his treatment longer, of course. But and this is why I said allegedly to the childhood stuff, because he would tell everyone in that program stories about how his father would beat him and his siblings, how his mother's boyfriends would sexually assault him, and how his mother also attempted suicide, oftentimes right in front of him, mostly by trying to cut her own wrists. Okay. So this sounds pretty
bad.
Awful. Yeah. And I think probably somewhere in the middle lies the truth. But one person who was roommates with him at this rehabilitation center, after all of his crimes, came forward and said, I actually met his mom during all of that stuff, and she didn't have any scars on her wrists that she should have had given the stories that he told. Mm-hmm. So it really made him question how credible him as information on his childhood really was. So, I am sure that there were probably things. Yes. But to this extreme, possibly not. So I just want to throw that out there.
No evidence.
Yeah. Allegedly. And also we will learn through the course of this case just how much of a liar that Conan really is, and the lengths that he'll go to lie. So that also pulls me in the direction of, you probably did get your ass whooped by your dad for being an asshole. Truly, back then,
that's what they did.
Yeah, they did. I'm not saying that I agree with it, but I'm saying that that's the reality of the time. And, maybe your mom did have a lot of boyfriends, and that probably pissed you off.
Right.
But, and tragically, maybe one or more did sexually assault him. I don't know. But it's just like one of those things where, okay, you feel sorry for the kid, but not the adult that he turns into.
Sure. As would happen often. And with most serial killers.
Yes. So. Yeah, definitely. Weirdly, and I was thinking about this the other day, the David Brown case is the only one where I didn't feel sorry for the kid.
Oh, you weren't nice about him from his infancy, from in utero.
I wasn't. That was a weird twist for me because I'm not usually like that. But there was something about, it might have been the 3 books that I read on it, but
sure.
Like he just
zero sympathy.
Oh my God, he rubbed me the wrong way from the beginning, from utero. Seriously.
So we're not sympathetic to Conan the Librarian. Sorry.
I was hoping you were going to do
But
it. Yes. So that's what we get an early morning Megan.
Yep.
Dad jokes.
Okay. That's it.
I love it. Okay. So the other problem that kids had with him in this rehabilitation center is that he became really righteous in his sobriety.
Oh.
So, yes, he would chastise others for swearing. Like, he is so above all of everything negative.
He found his higher power.
Yeah, he can't even swear now.
Okay.
And so he also, there's a story where some of the boys, one of them was 13. And so they're making crude remarks about some of the female workers. They had some college interns working there. So, hormonal teenage boys behind these women's backs, they're making lewd remarks, right?
Look at the rack on her.
Yeah, all of those things.
I'd like to be alone in the broom closet with that girl.
Yes. If the 13-year-old even could think that far. He was probably like, oh, big titties.
Right.
I mean, that's as deep as he got.
Exactly.
But, sorry, had to take another drink of coffee.
Me too.
But Conan got so righteous that he was like, not only should you guys not be saying these things, but I want you to go and tell those girls what you said about them.
No.
And apologize to them.
Oh.
And because he's older, so this is 1992, 93, and he was born in 75. So he's not 20 yet.
He's almost ready to age out. He's 17-ish.
Yes, exactly. And these other boys in here are like 13, 14. So he could control them, and he preferred that. He liked hanging out with younger crowds so that he could feel powerful and control them. And this was something that he did often in these rehabilitation centers. So later, the boys they go to this intern, tell him what they said, yada, yada. And then later, Conan admits to the boys that he couldn't give a shit less about what they said about the women. He just liked to watch them squirm and be uncomfortable. And he also liked to watch the women's reactions when they were told what was being said about them.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's gross.
He was getting off on it.
Yep. Some others that knew him said that he was a follower, not a leader. And so later in the crimes that we see him commit with another person, they kind of said, I actually think that because he was such a follower, it must have been the other guy. Whereas other people were saying, if you did not get the creeper vibe out of him right away, then your spidey senses are totally off. And one guy commented that he was super into Dungeons and Dragons, but in a way that he wanted it to be his real life.
Oh, yeah. The RPG stuff, I know lots of people who are into it, totally normal people, but they don't think that they are the dungeon master.
Right, exactly. No, he wanted to bring this into his reality, very much so. And when you couple that with possible childhood trauma and some mental illness, it's just not a wonderful cocktail of internal.
No, because we're separating ourselves from reality, and that makes it easier to do inhumane things to other people.
Yep, exactly.
And so I already have a bad picture of where this is going.
Yeah, it's not lovely. I actually, when I read that, I thought that it was going to go like way darker, like torturous type stuff. No, we're not there.
Okay.
But just the ability to be violent against others.
To separate yourself.
Yep.
From humanity.
Eventually he does age out of the rehabilitation program.
Sure.
Okay. And so the major crimes that we're going to talk about that he committed in 1995. Now, at this time, he's about to turn 20 years old in December because his birthday was December 28th. So this all happens right before his 20th birthday because it does happen in November or December, as a matter of fact. So Conan had a friend that he liked to crime around with.
Crime around with.
You like that? I'm punny in the morning, too.
I love that. Hey, let's crime around.
Let's crime around.
Love it.
And so that guy's name was Jonathan Wayne Süssbauer. Now, interestingly, Conan's middle name is also Wayne. So we have a couple of Waynes here. But also, fun fact, Conan went in the rehabilitation center in his teens. He went by Wayne.
Oh.
Probably because he got sick of being called Conan the Barbarian.
I know.
I imagine.
That was the real abuse.
His mom mom was turned on by Conan. Let's face it. So anyway.
That fur loincloth, those muscles.
I get it. Yeah. I'm not judging.
Right.
So I realized, though, if Conan really went by Wayne and his crime buddy was Jonathan, they're John Wayne.
Oh, fuck
together.
Me. Why do you gotta...
We are corny in the morning.
Big time. We are so sorry.
I know. I wrote these notes in the morning, too, so that's why. Yeah, I did.
We have John Wayne over here.
We do.
Is that the person? No, it's a duo.
No, yes, exactly. It's a crime duo.
It is.
Mm-hmm. So Jonathan Wayne Süssbauer was in his early 20s in...
95?
Yeah, yep. So they're around the same age, and he's hanging out in the Eugene, Oregon area with
Conan
Wayne. Mm-hmm, yep. So, and let's see how I skipped ahead in my notes because I was so excited to tell you that they had the same middle name. I don't know why.
You know what was popular in around 1995 was like Wayne's World.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
So
yeah.
it'd be way cooler to take on Wayne as your persona than Conan, which was clearly 70s and 80s.
Yes. So. Yep. That's a good point. Yep. So these two are breaking into homes. They are stealing thousands of dollars worth of goods. And because they're straight dicks and no other reason, they would also just slash with a knife all of the furniture in the home before they left.
Oh.
Yep.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
That's my couch.
Yep. As if it's not bad enough that they're stealing jewelry and fur coats and all kinds of valuable things. They're just being malicious.
Yeah, I get cases like that all the time. And you get them in front of you and you're like, why?
But right.
You need to break in to steal something, fine, because you needed your drug money. But why you got to throw paint around and destroy? That's just anger.
Yes, exactly. It's
towards somebody who has done nothing to you.
Unnecessary maliciousness. Which is a cool band name.
Unnecessary maliciousness?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's my garage band name for sure.
I like that. I just set it on a whim. Maybe in the morning is a good time where we have profound breakthroughs and we name shit.
I like that, too.
All right. So at this point, they're also stealing cars. And they escalate to sexually assaulting women. I suspect that there are more than what I can tell you about that was found in my research. I am sure that there is more. Because I am sure that this situation that I'm about to tell you about was not their first time, because it ends up like being one of the first two times that they do these things and get caught. I just don't believe that it's their first time. I suspect that they were probably sexually assaulting women that weren't coming forward and weren't able to be
Are they
caught.
Sexually assaulting women in the homes that they break into?
No,
okay.
Not that I can tell. So let's go to December 14th, 1995. They break, John and Wayne break into a woman's home. They stole several $1,000s. Okay.
Do it again.
Slow down and have some coffee. They stole several thousands of dollars worth of her property as well. They slashed her couch and a stereo speaker with a large knife before leaving. They could tell that this was a large knife. This is important information. They have done this several times before, but I mentioned this specific one on December 14th because of what happens on December 16th. Okay.
Okay.
So December 16th, 1995, around midnight, you'll have to follow this story because I actually took this right out of a court document, and it wasn't the best typed court document. I'm not going to lie, Megan.
It's from the 90s, right?
Yeah. So John and Wayne drive up beside a car that is parked on an isolated road in a remote wooded area in Eugene. All right. Okay. So these two are just criming around, and they see this vehicle parked on the side of the road because two teenagers, it's around midnight, they're getting it on, and they just want to harass them for a minute. All right. So they were in a stolen silver Chevy Suburban at the time. All right. And actually, John Süssbauer had stolen that just a few weeks earlier and hadn't been caught yet. So,
he's still out joyriding in this
he was
stolen car for 3 weeks.
Yes.
That's brave. That's ballsy even.
Well, and I think
you got to ditch that.
I think this area is remote enough that
he's had
why.
it hidden. Mm-hmm. They'd go find it in the bushes
and just drive it around when they wanted to.
Okay.
What they pull up on two teenagers, Kara Cruz and Jesse Jarvis. Jesse is a male.
And they're parking, as we used to call it.
Yep, they went a parking. Now, what Jesse could tell the police later is that the person on the passenger side of the Suburban got out and he approached the car and he knocked on the window. He told the couple that they were on his property, but that they could stay. Why even knock on the window if you're just going to tell them
they can stay?
You can stay. So he returned to the Suburban. And Jesse Jarvis said that he heard laughter at this point in time. You know?
They giggled. They thought
they were
oh
so
my God,
funny.
we were busted. And
right.
Okay.
No.
They were laughing.
Yes,
John and Wayne were.
John and Wayne are laughing like, oh yeah, I pretended to be the owner of this property and told them they could stay. All right. And so then the Suburban drives off. A few minutes later, Jesse Jarvis hears a man yelling. So he gets out of the parked car to investigate. And then later he tells the police that a man just jumped out of nowhere with and the man was large and stocky. Now, I will tell you that Conan Wayne Hale is large and stocky.
Okay, I wondered about body types. We hadn't discussed that.
And he was dressed in dark clothing and wore a really long, trench coat.
It was 1995.
It was. All right. His head and face were covered in some kind of mask or scarf, and only his eyes were visible. And here's where I mentioned the December 14th robbery. He carried something that looked like a really large machete.
Yes, because from slashing furniture.
And was swinging it like a sword. So he spoke in a low, rough growl and threatened Jesse Jarvis with the machete. He ordered Kara Cruz out of the car and told them both to take off their clothes and shoes. So they had no choice, but they did this. And then Conan the Barbarian at this point in time, he threw the couple's car keys, clothes, and shoes into the woods. And then he forced Jesse Jarvis to lie on the ground and Kara Cruz to lie across the hood of the car. And then he threatened Kara with the blade of the machete while he, trigger alert, sexually assaulted her.
Okay.
So shortly after this, Jesse and Kara go right to the police. And Jesse told the police that he thought that the person who claimed to be the property owner and the rapist were different people.
Oh.
All right. So because he just body type, he just wasn't sure. They're not immediately caught for this crime. Okay. On December 19th, 1995, John and Conan Wayne break into another house. And again, they steal thousands of dollars worth of property, including, among other things, a rabbit fur jacket. This is important information for later. A .38 caliber Taurus revolver with wooden grips and 25 rounds of ammunition for the revolver.
Okay.
Before they left, they again slashed the furniture with a knife, leaving their call sign like the wet bandits on
Home Alone.
All right. So then we go to the very next night, December 20th, where John and Conan Wayne were riding around in the stolen Suburban again. Now, this time, John Susbauer was driving. All right. They saw Conan's former girlfriend, Crystal Bendel. Crystal is only 15.
Oh.
Now, at this point in time, remember, John is almost 20. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Conan is almost 20.
Conan Wayne.
And so she is only 15. And I will say, because I always give you guys when I read conflicting information, there was a naive person who claimed that these two were not really dating, they were just friends. But we know that Conan liked to hang around with younger crowds because he was able to control them and seem tough. And I will say the comments that I saw on that thread, some people called her very naive and some even stupid. So, I think that it was just her just trying to say, well, I don't really think they were dating. I think they were just being, palling around.
Well,
it doesn't matter. But
I think it's fair to jump to the assumption that he would have particular reasons for wanting to hang out with a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah, most definitely.
She may not have had any type of malice. And I like the word
Right.
naive better than stupid, because what 15-year-old girl isn't?
Oh, no. The person who was commenting that they weren't dating, people were calling her naive. And
They were
stupid.
calling her naive
Yes,
and
like,
stupid.
come on, man. And once you find out what happens, you'll see why.
Okay.
Why.
Okay.
So, as it happens, Crystal was with her current boyfriend, Brandon Williams, who was also 15, and two other younger kids, Patrick Finley, who was 13, and Michael Black, who was 15.
Okay.
So the four of them are just hanging out, walking around. It is late at night. And so John and Conan see them. They're in their stolen silver Suburban, and they pull up next to them. And they get out, they're talking with them. At this time, Conan is wearing a black trench coat and jeans. Now, remember, the guy who got out of the vehicle was wearing a black trench coat
Yes.
the night before, right? With the
Yes.
assault on Kara and all that. So he offered the teenagers a ride. So Crystal Bendel, Brandon Williams, and Patrick Finley, the 13-year-old, accept the ride. Michael Black declined.
Okay.
And as he walked away, he realized that the Suburban was actually slowly driving off in a different direction from where they were supposed to be going to be heading home. And so now I'm going to give you a trigger alert.
All
Okay.
right.
The next afternoon, December 21st, 1995, two men found the nude bodies of Brandon Williams and Crystal Bendel at a logging landing on McGowan Creek. They literally were just discarded on the side of a gravel road.
Okay.
All right. Now, Crystal Bendel had been shot twice, once in the back and once in the left temple. Brandon Williams had been shot 5 times. 3 shots were in the head and face, 1 in the chest, and 1 in the back.
Okay.
And now this is another trigger alert because it's just awful, but Patrick Finley was still alive.
What?
Barely, but he was lying nearby. Also just kind of discarded on the side of the road. He had also been shot once in the head and once in the shoulder.
Wow.
So he was wearing like a plethora of things, but one of the things that he was wearing was that rabbit fur jacket that Conan and John had stolen in the earlier burglary on the 19th.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Why is he wearing it?
I don't know. I think that because he was 13, I really think they toyed with him more than the other two.
Okay.
So Patrick Finley did die 4 days later without ever regaining consciousness.
Okay. So he can never identify or testify or anything.
Yes. And he was 13 years old, you know.
All those parents lost those babies.
Yes, lost their babies. So because Michael Black declined the ride, he was able to tell police after the news broke of the 3 teenagers' deaths that Conan and John had picked the 3 of them up late on the night of December 20th and what they were wearing.
I can't believe they let that happen.
That really surprised me too. Like, how
If you have
stupid are you?
malicious intention, why wouldn't they have at that point forcibly taken,
Would you say it was Patrick?
Michael.
Sorry, Patrick
Yep,
was
Patrick
in the
is
fur
the
coat.
13. Yep.
Why wouldn't they have forcibly, kidnapped him, taken him into the truck?
Right?
Is it possible that they didn't form the intent to kill until later, having left a witness?
Very possible, because if you think about Kara Cruz and Jesse Jarvis, they left them alive. However, the difference is they had a history here. They could identify them.
Yeah, they
knew who
she
they
knew
were.
him.
And so I just wonder if they were banking that Michael didn't really know who they were. And maybe when they pulled up, his ex-girlfriend may have said, oh, that's my, I used to date him. This is, John and Conan, or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. That part has bothered me too. Like, why, or did you just really not give a shit if you got caught? I don't know. So obviously the police go and visit John Susbauer at his home, December 24th, 1995, Christmas Eve. His freaking poor parents.
Oh, I know.
The
Can you
police
imagine?
rolling up and like, oh, we've got 3 dead bodies and we think you're responsible for them. They seized the 38 caliber Taurus revolver that was stolen during the December 19th burglary.
So we're solving some other crimes here.
Yep.
This is suspicious.
They're getting more warrants. And on December 26th, police search Conan's bedroom. They've got a warrant for him. And there they seize a black trench coat and a machete.
Oh, this is looking bad for these criminals.
Yep. So, also, now we have, if you'll remember, they do have the statement from Jesse Jarvis and Kara Cruz that this is exactly what he was wearing and carrying during their attack, right? So they bring in Jesse Jarvis, and Jesse Jarvis identifies John Süssbauer as the property owner that knocked on the door of his vehicle.
Oh.
Now remember,
that's good.
He said he did not think that the person posing as the property owner and the rapist were the same. And so then he identifies Conan Wayne as matching the body shape and possibly being the rapist. However, Kara Cruz was not able to identify in a lineup anyone, that they had pulled in as the rapist when shown in the lineups. And that doesn't surprise me, right? I mean, she's going through a horrific trauma. Yeah. And so the Taurus revolver, later through scientific diagnostic, as I'm going to call it, because it's so early in the morning and I don't know what other word I'm trying to use, it was proved to be the murder weapon.
Okay.
Forensic examination.
There you go.
Yeah.
I want to say ballistics.
Yes, that's right, Megan.
But my head's not working either.
So all the bullets that were recovered at the scene and from the bodies of the victims had been fired from that gun that was found in John's house. So testing the grip of the revolver revealed a mixture of DNA patterns. Most prominent, though, matched that of Crystal Bendel.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. I think she really fought for her life. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to give you guys another trigger alert for some really gruesome crime scene DNA evidence. We're going to talk about semen and where it was found.
Sure.
So skip ahead 15 seconds if you don't want to hear that. But semen obtained from Crystal Bendel's mouth, vagina, and anus were identified as John Süssbauer's.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Her semen on her shirt and on the rabbit fur coat that Patrick Finley was wearing was identified as Conan Wayne Hale's.
It paints a picture.
It does. It does. So they're both charged with aggravated murder and various other crimes, in the murders of Crystal Bendel, Brandon Williams, and Patrick Finley. And then also the assault on Jesse Jarvis and Kara Cruz. And in the December 14th and 19th burglaries, because they've got them. They had the fur coat, the revolver, the slashing of the furniture in both of those situations. And I do believe later they are charged with other robberies where
I'm
furniture
sure
is
other home
slashed as well.
invasions and
Now, John Süssbauer agrees to cooperate and pleads guilty to, among other things, 3 counts of aggravated murder.
He does.
He does. Yes. And I think I know you'll be able to figure out why. Because Conan Hale pled not guilty and decided to blame John for everything.
Sure.
And the prosecution decided that they're going to seek the death penalty. So I really think that John was like, they're going for the death penalty. If I cooperate first, I won't get the death penalty.
Correct. They will take death penalty off the table.
And they did. Yep. So Conan is up for the death penalty, and he is still lying, saying John was the catalyst of all of it.
It's all him.
He followed under, duress. He had sexually assaulted these people under duress. Okay. So
okay, she says.
Okay. So now I'm going to tell you about some shit that went down that completely delayed Conan's trial.
All
and
right.
I feel terrible for all of the families involved that this shit had to keep getting delayed because of this. While he was in detention, all right, as it was described. So he's locked up, no bond allowed, right?
He's detained.
While he's detained, he asked to see a priest. Now, he is not Catholic, okay? So Friar Timothy Macatus, a priest in Eugene, Oregon, visited Conan Hale on April 22nd, 1996. Okay? And he heard his confession. Without the priest's knowledge, prison authorities recorded the confession, which was conducted by telephone while Hale and the priest were separated by a glass partition.
Yes.
All right? Prison officials claim that all conversations of prisoners and visitors are recorded except conversations between prisoners and their lawyers. So for their policy, clergymen were not excluded from
being recorded.
When it was revealed that the confession had been taped, the Bishop of Portland, Oregon, Francis E. George, protested.
Correct.
In a letter to the United States Ambassador of the Holy See in the Vatican, they deplored the recording of the confession. The uproar focused on the prosecutor, whose name was Doug Harkleroad.
A great name.
That is his name. I was like, did we forget to put a separation between Harkle and Road was just the start of the next section? No. His name was Doug Harkleroad. Because they thought that Doug was going to use this, all right, to
as part
of the prosecution. But here's the problem. He wasn't going to do that because in this confession, Conan Hale didn't confess to anything.
Right.
What he did was just solidify his defense, and he confessed to Friar Timothy that everything was John's fault. He knew it was going to be recorded.
Sure.
So he was just trying to solidify his defense. And so what happened somewhere along the line, the Oregon Attorney General said that if the tape is not admissible, then the government might have to dismiss the charges of murder.
But
and
he wasn't using it anyway.
Wait. No, exactly. The prosecutor's like, hold on. Sections of the tape started to get leaked. And so then it's like, no, hold on. I'm not using this. This isn't this. If anything, would be something the defense would want to use.
Right.
Right. And so then it became a back and forth of, no, we can't use it. The defense can't use this.
You can't use, it's a protected communication with clergy. Mm-hmm. Confessions are, and they can be suppressed. So what would happen is if the prosecutor was going to bring that in, the defense would file a motion to suppress that information because it was a protected communication, and they would win. Mm-hmm. And now if your whole case was built on that, could there be a motion to dismiss and potentially a dismissal? Yes. But that was never the intention, and there was nothing useful. Right. Now, if the defense wants to use this, then here's the thing, because the person who has the protection is the defendant, they could put that in then. There wouldn't necessarily be a suppression, but it opens the door.
Yeah.
So once you put in a confession, something that would have been a protected communication from the defense, mm-hmm. the prosecutor has the absolute 100% right at that point to cross-examine and to roll with whatever gets put in.
Right.
But more importantly, the prosecutor in this case, who has a great name, he's like, dude, I didn't want to use this anyway.
No,
so
exactly.
I'm not dismissing my case, but you're not going to dismiss my case because I don't need any of this.
It's like it got twisted because when the Catholic Church found out that it was taped,
sure,
then it was, well, it had to have been taped to try to use to nail him to the coffin.
No, it was taped because we tape all communications other than in the attorney room.
And it wasn't going to be used. So what happens is the Catholic officials, including the U.S. Catholic Conference, requested a federal judge in Oregon to destroy the tape and its written transcript. The court refused to intervene on the basis of doctrine and said this has been well established since 1971. That federal courts should not enter into matters that are in litigation in state courts until such matters have been resolved according to state law and procedures. The federal judge did, however, agree that the plaintiffs are justifiably outraged by the taping, which should never have occurred. In other words, the Catholic Church, they're the ones that are filing this.
Yes.
It's not anything to do with this particular, with Hale.
It's the premise in general.
Yeah, exactly. So the judge is like, I understand how the Catholic Church is upset about this, but I'm not going to interfere with this open criminal court case right now based on your concerns about it, especially because it was obvious the Catholic Church had no idea what really the premise of why it was even brought up anyway. Conan Hale knew it was recorded.
Yeah.
And he planted the seeds of his innocence, and he wanted it to be able to be used.
Yeah.
And it backfired. So during the period when the destruction of the tape was being requested, the state of Oregon announced at that time its intention to seek the death penalty for Hale. And around the same time, Hale's counsel revealed that the audio cassette would be used if it could be helpful in his efforts to defeat the 22 counts of aggravated murder and other cries against him in the indictment. So they're like, okay, no, you're not going to use this. So what happens is essentially the courts get together between January 12th, 1996 and January 27th, 1997, and they come up with a procedure. They ordered that the confession, actually they do not want it destroyed, all right? But they are not going to authorize its use in his trial.
Okay.
So it's not destroyed, but it's not going to be used. So Judge Noonan also issued an injunction forbidding law enforcement officials in Oregon from ever wiretapping communications between clergy and those who may be seeking their counsel.
That makes sense.
So, yep, I agree. I mean, I think
so
something
when you're
good.
seeking religious care, don't do that over the recorded line.
Yeah, yep. And I think that's an appropriate response to this of, okay, we're not going to destroy this tape. We're not going to allow it into court.
Right.
But also from this point forward, we're not going to allow clergy communications to be recorded. So we have this delay, and this trial, the trial finally starts in 1998.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which just makes me, the murders happened December 20th, 1995, and these poor families. So at the trial, Conan's defense was that John Süssbauer was the rapist and the killer, and that he was merely in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, John's story was the total opposite. That Conan was the director of the abuse and murder of all the victims, and that John was a secondary and in part unwilling accomplice.
Oh, wow.
Which does not make sense considering the
You were both
DNA evidence.
willing.
Absolutely.
You're both co-conspirators.
Yep, and it didn't matter because the jury does ultimately reject Conan Hale's theory and convicted him on 13 counts of aggravated murder and multiple non-capital crimes that came out of the burglaries and attack on Kara Cruz and Jesse Jarvis. So Conan Hale was sentenced on the non-capital crimes at the conclusion of the guilt phase part of the trial. And then the trial court then concluded a penalty phase trial on the aggravated murder convictions. In that proceeding, the jury determined that the defendant had acted deliberately in committing the murders, that he posed a continuing risk to society, and they did give him the death sentence.
All right.
So he was sentenced to death on May 28th, 1998. And at this point in time, I do believe Oregon has taken the death penalty off the table, and so he is just incarcerated for life.
Yeah, there's a stay or a moratorium on executions on the death penalty in a lot of states that previously had it. Mm-hmm. Federally, though, that moratorium doesn't exist, or it existed for a period of time, but then they were reinstated. And he wasn't tried federally; he was tried state.
Yep.
So there's that, and I've run across a number of cases like that recently.
Uh-huh.
So even if they were convicted and set to die, once they change the state changes their stance on the death penalty, it's just never going to happen. It's never going to follow through unless it was a federal conviction.
But he is not going to get out. I mean, it's
he's not going to get out.
Imprisonment, and here he is, and he sealed his fate at 20 years old.
Correct.
To spend the rest of his life in prison. It's just crazy.
Does he still exist?
He does.
Okay.
To my knowledge, he has not deceased himself.
He is not unalived himself, and no one else has unalived him.
No one else has unalived him, shockingly. So at this point, unless it wasn't reported on.
What happened to
excuse me,
to John?
Oh, life imprisonment. Yeah,
but by plea agreement.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, because he pled guilty and knew what he was getting as a sentence.
So that he
plea
was
bargained.
Yeah. So he was not sentenced to death as well.
Okay.
Yep. Are you ready for a brain bath? Isn't that
Bathe me?
So I don't know. I'm bringing you more crime.
For my bath?
For the brain bath, but
I love a crimey bath.
it's nicer, more charming crime.
Oh, it's not a dirty bath.
It's not.
It's a clean bath.
It is. It's a clean bath. Still a little crimey, but and this was a beautiful article. I mean, it was an article in The Guardian, but it was written sweetly. So that's why I called it a beautiful article. But they were reporting on a 78-year-old woman who has an affliction for robbing banks.
Ooh,
but
granny.
In a really nice way.
Okay.
So here's what
Do you
the
picture the
article
grandma from Elmer Fudd right now from Bugs Bunny, where this little lady with the walker?
Her. Yeah.
And she whips a pistol out.
Yep. So this is what the article said. A 78-year-old woman with 2 past bank robbery convictions faces new charges after allegedly carrying out a heist in Missouri, during which she handed a teller a note that said, "I didn't mean to scare you." Bonnie Gooch.
Good God.
I love it.
Bonnie Gooch.
That's the whole reason I covered this.
Yeah,
Just so
because you
say
wanted to say
Bonnie Gooch.
You wanted to say Gooch on
Sure did.
radio.
Yep. She has been jailed on a $25,000 bond after she was charged with 1 count of stealing or attempting to steal from a financial institution in the holdup last Wednesday. I believe this actually happened last year in Pleasant Hill.
Oh, God.
Gooch was convicted of robbing a California bank in 1977.
Oh, Granny.
And one in the Kansas City suburb of Lee's Summit in 2020.
Bonnie was a real Bonnie and Clyde, huh?
2020, Megan. She just got out from that last one in Kansas City, and she back at it.
Grandma was not rehabilitated.
Her probation over the second heist ended in November 2021.
That lady was so old when she got released. She could not acclimate herself
She
and wanted to
couldn't.
go back to prison.
That's
Honestly,
right.
send me back there. They have health care in there. I'm old.
Yes, very. Oh, that's a good point.
I just want to go back to my cell.
Court documents filed in Cass County in her recent case said that the robbery note demanded $13,000 in small bills and added, "Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you."
Oh my gosh.
Isn't this the
lady.
sweetest robbery? This is how I would rob a bank.
And at which point they're like, so here's your note back where it just says, no, thank you. You
Right.
can move on to the next bank. And
Correct.
Was she armed?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
The woman allegedly told the teller not to count the money and just give it to her. Surveillance video.
I'll trust you.
Right. Surveillance video also captured her banging on the counter, asking the teller to hurry up.
Is she banging it with her cane?
I think just
In
her
my
hand.
head. No, in my head, it's her
a
cane.
cane. It's a cane.
That was the weapon.
Witnesses said the suspect was dressed in all gray and wearing plastic gloves, a black N95 mask, and black sunglasses.
For Christ.
Oh, prosecutors said she smelled strongly of alcohol when an officer stopped her less than 2 miles away with cash scattered on the car's floor.
Oh,
She
got the money.
She did. She was very stern with the officers.
No, sir. I will not have you ruin my day.
Oh, so
I've been locked up for however many years, 50 years.
the police chief, Tommy Wright, told
Christ.
the reporters, "It's just sad." He said that she actually has no diagnosis of ailments or dementia or anything like that.
She's just a bank robber.
She's just a 78-year-old, very sweet bank robber. No information that she was using a weapon either, which I wonder if that's what happened in the 2021. She didn't use a weapon, and that's why she was out and on probation. Because, it's a federal crime once you use a weapon of any kind or try to make something look like a weapon that's not a weapon. So I don't know what coercion that she would have been using other than just this note of "give me the money." I'm not sure.
Or they pled her to an attempt or something. Who knows? But that is adorable.
Yes.
For a crime that they don't get much cuter than that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. That's 100%. If I was to go down as a criminal, I literally would be like,
apologizing.
You look lovely today. Just so you know, please don't let this ruin your day. This is not your fault. I'm the shitty human. Right. But I'm in this situation. I need this right now. But girl, you're rocking those eyelashes. I just
Yeah.
love your hair.
I just need you to go ahead and get me the money from your till now
Yes.
and put it in a bag. Let's keep this calm, sweetie.
yeah,
Everything's
exactly.
going to be fine for
Everything's
you
fine.
later. It's not your money.
This isn't even your money.
It's not. You're
it's
not.
fake, actually. You don't actually have all the money in the bank that all of these people's bank account statements say they have anyway. So,
No,
I mean,
it's digital
it's a
money.
victimless crime here.
Really it is.
It's fine.
I feel like we both just talked ourselves into Thelma and Louise and some
We
shit.
Beautifully over the microphones. Like we
I
were
do-
locking eyes and we're like, yeah, this is real.
It was lovely.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you all for listening today. If you would like to binge hundreds of extra content, go over to patreon.com. Actually, there's a link in our show notes, but it's patreon.com/crime curious. You'll find us there.
And then we have what? Crime Curious Podcast at what's our website?
just Crime Curious Podcast.
CrimeCuriousPodcast.com.
.cam.
.cam. Now all of a sudden we film this South.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. See, it's early.
Weird in the morning. I'm weird.
I'm weird too.
Yeah, but we're out there is what we're trying to say. Like
Yeah,
you
hit
can
us
get
up.
more of us, lots more of us, maybe more of us than you even want.
It will be.
at times.
We can be too much.
Yeah.
We've both been told that as children.
We're aware. We
Yeah.
are. It was written on report cards.
I was just going to say every freaking report card.
so I
Megan talks
understand.
too much.
Yep.
Megan can be a bit much.
Yep, a bit much. That's a lot of energy there.
It can be.
Absolutely.
So, and I like to be right.
But if you're digging it, you can get more of us.
Dig in deeper. So until next time, y'all, keep it curious.
Keep listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.